Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the presentation section of the Rensselaer County Legislature for our June meeting. We have two resolutions and awards tonight we want to recognize, and the first one is going to be P-24724. This is a resolution commending Devin Delamater upon the occasion of being crowned the 2024-25 Rensselaer County Dairy Ambassador. Would Devin please come down front along with any family or friends? And I'd also like to introduce legislators Harrington and Wysocki and anybody else who'd like to join us up front.
Okay. As I said, this is a resolution commending Devin Delamater upon the occasion of being crowned the 2024-2025 Rensselaer County Dairy Ambassador. Whereas the youth of today are our leaders of tomorrow, and to recognize the accomplishments of those who are exceptional will inspire others to emulate their achievements, ensuring a brighter future for our community. And whereas fully in accord with its longstanding traditions, it is the intent of this legislative body to acknowledge with profound respect and admiration Devin Delamater for being named the 2024-2025 Rensselaer County Dairy Ambassador. Whereas the Rensselaer County Dairy Ambassador is reviewed by a judging committee to ensure that the chosen young adults can embark on an experience that is meaningful for them personally, enhances their community in some way, and is consistent with the meaning of the dairy experience in their life. Whereas this award recognizes the accomplishments, the growth, the pursuit of multifaceted endeavors that involve young adults who exhibit a knowledge of the dairy industry as well as a willingness to serve as a dairy ambassador while developing leadership skills and contributing to the dairy community. Whereas Devin Delamater is a 10th grade student at Hoosick Valley Central School and has been part of the Dairy Ambassador program for 11 years. While Devin did not grow up on a dairy farm, she has grown up in the dairy industry, raising cows since she was very young. And whereas Devin currently boards dairy cows on a friend's farm and has been showing her cows for years at both Scottycoke and Washington County fairs, and as well as two outstanding state shows. And whereas the name of Devin Delamater has been added to the roster of successful young adults who have achieved the unique distinction of Dairy Ambassador, this merited award is tangible evidence of Devin's high character and commitment, indicative of her future service to her community. And whereas Devin will help spread the word about the products produced by county dairy farms and help boost farming and agricultural products. And whereas this legislative body shall inscribe upon its record this tribute to Devin Delamater so that future generations may know and appropriate her admirable character, her many achievements, and the respect and esteem in which she is held. Now therefore be it resolved that this legislative body pause in its deliberations and most joyously commend Devin Delamater for her outstanding achievements, fully confident that such pause symbolizes our shared commitment to the ideals of community, volunteer, and public service which are part of our American heritage. And be it further resolved that the clerk of the legislature transmit a copy of this resolution suitably engrossed to the 2024-2025 Rensselaer County Dairy Ambassador Devin Delamater. I think I'm probably the only guy left in this legislature that's still milking cows. We have we have a farmer right here. But we certainly appreciate everything you do for the dairy industry, especially me and the rest of the dairy farmers in the county. Devin, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you for recognizing me this evening. I can't wait to I look forward to this year for recognizing all the dairy farms in our county. And I hope that this year is well for our program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here, Devin, don't leave. You want to say anything? No? Everybody?
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Devin. Congratulations, and congratulations to your family and friends. I'm sure you're going to represent us well this upcoming year. Our next resolution is P 24924. This is a resolution commending Hoosick Valley Odyssey of the Mind teams upon their outstanding performance in 2024 competition. This is a presentation by Legislator Casal and anybody else that would like to join us, and I would invite the entire team to come on up front. Not going to call on you to do your skit. I remember when my son was in Odyssey of the Mind, and it was very intense as a parent trying to figure out what the project was. It's going to be a very creative group. I hope one of you can talk to us about what your problem was and what you had to solve.
Okay, this is a great night to be a Hoosick Valley student, I guess. This is a resolution commending Hoosick Valley Odyssey of the Mind teams upon a outstanding performance in 2024 competition. With our children lies the future of our nation. Responsibility to educate, motivate, and cultivate valuable citizenship among our children is shared by parents, educators, and the community. The Odyssey of Mind school program fosters creative thinking and teamwork by challenging students to use imaginative paths to problem solving through organized competition. The fulfillment of this responsibility can be illustrated by the achievement of Hoosick Valley students. Margaret Rice organized the teams, and 28 Hoosick Valley students had the honor of advancing to the New York State tournament. 250 teams gathered to compete for all over the state of New York in the Odyssey of the Mind competition, and just alike at regionals. The Hoosick Valley students put all their creativity skills together to create a solution to the problems and participate in the spontaneous critical thinking section. For the first time in Hoosick Valley's history, 2 teams came in first place in the entire state of New York and will be advancing on to the Odyssey of the Mind World Tournament, which they did, I think, a few weeks ago. So they'll talk about that and how they did. All right, so I'm going to read some names here, so if you want to raise your hand if you're here. All right. Represent Hoosick Valley as members of the Odyssey of the Mind team for Problem 3 Division 3 under the guidance of Coach Kyle Schmidt or Isabella Schmidt. Evan Antelek, Anna Grace Macia, close? Masisa, Terry Cottrell, Sophie Wilson, Marie Ackerley, and Amelia Standard. Representing Hoosick Valley as member of the Odyssey of the Mind team for Problem 5, Division 2, under the guidance of Margaret Rice or Laura Rice, Haley Velsick, Nora Luskin, McKenna Luskin, Sophia Aiken, Riley Davis, and Brielle Chapko. This is an amazing opportunity for students to represent Hoosick Valley against the teams from all over the world. Now, therefore be it that Brewster County Legislature does hereby pause in its deliberations and joyously commends the 2024 Odyssey for the Mind teams representing Hoosick Valley on their first place victory in the New York State competition, and heavily extends its best wishes to all their future endeavors. And be it further that the clerk of the legislature is hereby directed to transmit a copy of the resolution suitably gross to members of the coaches of the team. Congratulations, girls. And forgot my man over there. as I said, they went on to the world. I got to know this whole group here, Margaret, the whole crew here. They got honored in the Capitol a few weeks ago when I was happened to be there in the Assembly chambers and in the Senate chambers, and there were some great words said about them. But I'm sure I'm going to leave it up to you guys and girls to talk about what happened at your worlds and how many countries participated and names of the countries. So I'm going to leave it up to anybody else want to speak here. All right, so we got to have somebody up here and we can talk about this.
I'd like to say thank you for this recognition. And at Worlds, we went against 10 countries.
There you go.
Do you want names of countries?
Yeah, go ahead if you have a few names.
We went against Mexico, China, Japan, Korea, Singapore, Hong Kong, Germany, Switzerland, Netherlands, and Poland. The Division 3 Problem 3 team came in third, and our Division 2 Problem 5 team came in second. Anything else? Oh, I mean fifth. 16th? I don't know my numbers. I should probably stop talking.
You did a very good job, buddy. Would you like to say anything?
Thank you very much for this honor, and thank you to Mr. Casal, who really took all of us under his wing when we were honored at the Capitol. I think it was a wonderful experience for the students, and we all felt very honored, so thank you very much.
Hi, Janet Bailey. I didn't see you back there. We're just getting a copy of the sign-up sheet, and we'll be ready to go in a minute. So good evening, everybody. It is 6:03. We have several folks signed up on the sign-up sheet. So just want to remind everybody, this is our regular legislative meeting, and we want to make sure and give residents the opportunity to speak and discuss anything that is included on the agenda tonight at our regular meeting. You have to be a Rensselaer County resident, and we typically limit this 3 people to talk on the same subject. The limit is 5 minutes per person, but I understand we have some folks that are here to speak on the same subject. So I'm going to allow that. I just ask, please, that you limit your comments to 5 minutes. We have had in the past folks wanting to go longer than that, but because of the list that we have, I would ask that you just limit those comments, and I'll let you know when we're at 5 minutes, if that's okay. So our first speaker is Thomas Kearney. If you'd like to come up front and speak at the podium. Good evening.
Good evening to you all. My name is Thomas Kearney. I'm a Rensselaer County resident living in Troy, New York. I'm a transplant. I'm originally from Greene County, Catskill, New York. I am co-founder of Capital Area Relief and Liberation and founder of Bruss Maldonado Substance Abuse Recovery Services. And I'm here to speak to you all today about the new Rensselaer County Drug Dealer Registry. As someone who provides services for individuals who are suffering from substance use disorder, I can tell you that most of the individuals that we come across are individuals who have lost hope. The work that we do is intended to restore that hope. When someone comes to me, they are looking for employment, they're looking for a job, they're looking to work with CPS to get their children back, they're looking to work with parole and probation to stay on the right track. The piece of legislation that came through that says that individuals who are convicted of selling drugs should have to register is harmful to that community. To individuals who are already suffering, to individuals who have already lost everything. You're not getting kingpins. It's not going to happen. You're not getting kingpins on your registry. You're getting the individuals that work with us to try and get their lives back together, who are just most likely selling drugs just so they can feed their own habits on a daily basis. While I don't necessarily deliver services here on a regular basis, we do networking because there's only so many of us and there's only so many options and landlords and jobs that will allow individuals who have justice-impacted backgrounds to work or live in their areas. For you to now make a list of individuals that won't be able to work or live in Rensselaer County removes hope from a community that's already hopeless. I spent some time in Greene County the last 2 weeks, and I'm going to leave you with a name of Jessica Jennifer Muhammad. She was suffering in Greene County. She lost hope. When she didn't have hope, she took a syringe and she injected herself with an amount of drugs that should have killed her. It didn't. That was a Friday night. She went to a hospital. She got help. And on Friday night, she tried it again. And she succeeded. I spent most of my time in Greene County attempting to not look her 12-year-old daughter in the face because I knew that we could have done better. And we should have done better. Her mother should still be alive. But we failed as a community. I'm asking you to not do the same thing here. It's my time.
The next speaker, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time reading your first name. The last name might be Henquin, Washington Avenue. I apologize. Is it Line? What is your first name? I'm sorry. Lena. Lena, okay, thank you. Now I can see it.
Hello, good evening. My name is Lena Hendrickson. I was here a few weeks ago speaking to the drug dealer registry. I'm here again as a human being, but also as a representative for Troy Democratic Socialists of America. And I would like to read up our statement on this drug dealer registry. First, I would like to say that it is commendable that when you heard the outpouring, that you actually took up and tried, or at least got a repeal, on the table. And we are eternally grateful for that. It means that you are listening to us when we come and we show up. So thank you. However, we don't know where this is going. So we would like to keep our statement still in public. So here goes. The drug dealer registry law is a regressive step that unjustly targets primarily working class and BIPOC individuals, compounding the challenges they face from our criminal justice system. Rather than addressing the root causes of the drug epidemic in our community, this law only heightens the barriers to rehabilitation and re-entry into our society. Troy DSA stands firmly against this measure and strongly advocates for its immediate repeal. We believe in creating opportunities for recovery and integration, not perpetrating cycles of punishment and exclusion. And I know that putting a registry out and putting names on there, it might seem like a easy, good, hard red line to say we shouldn't have drugs and we shouldn't have drug dealers. However, that is superficial. The lawmakers here, the job you have is to dig deep and find the solutions so that we don't have this as a major crisis in our society. And that means that what we should put money and energy into is rehabilitation, it's counseling, it's opportunities, and those are the things that can make a difference. So I hope you do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Angela Beeler.
Hello, my name's Angela. I live in Troy, New York. I wanted to speak about the drug dealer registry and the resolution that's on the table to repeal it. It seems, in doing some digging around and some research, that there was inadequate research done here before the drug dealer registry bill was passed. No study on its impacts and effectiveness were done. Even in a cursory look at 25 years of critical, peer-reviewed study of registries, particularly sex offender registries, will show that the registry as a form is not effective in the ways that you proposed. A public notice legally required but not filed in this case could have brought out community experts, experts in their own lives, folks like Thomas, people who have experienced substance use, who have experienced overdose, who have been incarcerated, to come and share about how misguided this path was. I wanted to point to another document. It's a roadmap for opioid settlement funds, supporting communities and ending the overdose crisis, which was signed by over 100 organizations and in the area, particularly signed on and supported by Vocal New York. Now this is about opiate settlement funds, but I think it's really informative here. It says, quote, while these funds were secured in response to the dramatic increase in deaths and harms from opioid pill dispensing stemming from corporate greed, they provide an opportunity to more broadly address the damage of over 50 years of drug war policies grounded in criminalization, incarceration, and anti-evidence-based approaches to drug use. These drug war policies have made our nation a global leader in mass incarceration, mass death, and mass harms, including the dual pandemics of HIV and hepatitis C, as well as poverty and homelessness. Black and brown people bear the brunt of the harms of these policies, and so a data-driven approach should be used to direct funds towards those disproportionately impacted by deaths, non-fatal overdoses, and individual and community health and social harms. Now, within this document, what they recommend is that housing, outreach, and wraparound support for services for people who use drugs and people with drug-related convictions that could bar them from housing, put funds in that. Addressing collateral consequences of drug war policies, tough on crime approaches, which adding this to someone's sentence that they already served, which in the past has led to families being torn apart, where past criminal convictions, barring people from housing and employment, and denial of access to critical government benefits, that is what would happen here if you institute and follow through with this drug dealer registry. Don't do that. They suggest supporting small community-based organizations and putting funds into things that, though critical and on the ground, work like Thomas does, is underfunded. So put your efforts into legislating in ways that will put funds into the things that will support people in our communities who are facing housing crises, who are serving mental health issues, who are coming out and need support for their substance use and not further criminalization and punishment. Now, I know in Rensselaer County, investments in mental health services are lagging. You know, I've listened on the police radio in Troy when you could listen to it. I've heard countless times on there where mental health services were needed for community members and it wasn't available because of the time of day or due to it being overstretched. They called for it and it wasn't there. So how do we get that? We need more funding and support for the mental health issues that people are facing. We need mental health service, economic investment, housing, employment, and health services. We do not need to further invest in criminalization and incarceration. We need to move beyond abstinence-only treatment and education. Now, all over, we're watching the trend where the shifts of defunding social services, which is deepening investments at the same time in criminalization and incarceration. Do not do that here. It is not working. Now, and I don't know the stats countywide, but I know at least in Troy, thanks to Timber, that the investments in health, community, and social services are vastly outstripped by a steady investment in policing and punishment and criminalization. If you want to save lives from overdose, invest in harm reduction services, mental health and healthcare, fair housing, job training, and community support. This law was an empty promise to prevent overdoses and save lives. In the absence of evidence-based care tactics, this is a scare tactic. It is a way to respond without really doing the work to meaningfully and effectively respond. Thank you to those who are willing to admit their mistake. Pass this resolution to repeal, and not the other one that's on the table tonight, and work with community members to actually address overdoses in our communities. There is work to be done. It is a crisis. Don't put a simple Band-Aid on it. Don't criminalize and further punish people who are facing something that is really a threat to them, their lives, and their families. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Bob Blackman.
Good evening to all of you. My name is Bob Blackman, and I am the co-founder and past president of the Justice Center of Rensselaer County. The Justice Center vehemently opposes the legislation that you created when you created the drug dealer registry. What happened to the American democracy that says that once a person serves his or her time in prison, they have satisfied the terms of their punishment, they have been released and provided the opportunity to start a new life? The registry does just the opposite. It extends the punishment by at least 10 years and prevents the person from being able to start a new and productive life. So a 3-year sentence, for example, automatically becomes a 13-year sentence. Is that fair? Is that fair? Is it democratic? Obviously, it's neither. Furthermore, the register would disproportionately affect the poor and people of color and other minority groups. People of color already, among other things, face extra difficulty finding good jobs and housing, and the registry will exacerbate that handicap. So the legislation that you put in place is racist, and it is classist as well. We do understand and we appreciate the importance of the drug issue, and we fully support reasonable efforts to address that issue. But ladies and gentlemen, establishing a drug dealer registry is simply not the answer. So the Justice Center of Rensselaer County calls on you to rethink your ill-advised action and repeal this awful legislation. Legislation that could very well be unconstitutional. Thank you.
The next person on the list, I think it says next to their name, not speaking, but I just want to double check that. So it's Blue. Yes. That's okay. Just wanted to get it straight.
Good evening. My name is Blue Carricker. I'm a relatively recent resident of Troy, New York. I bought a house with my son and his family in Lansingburg 2 years ago. I raised my family in Schenectady, and I've worked a lot with the legislature in Albany County to pass some important things. So I guess I consider myself a Capital Region resident at the moment and very devoted to the area. My biggest concern right off the cuff with this was the fact that as a resident, as a person with children and grandchildren in this community, many friends and colleagues, I didn't hear anything about it until it was passed. And this is an issue that will affect many, many, many people. We can't simply assume that because we are not poor, we are not Black, we are not brown, that this will not affect us. It's not about one community or another. The drug issue is pervasive across all sectors of our communities. Veterans get addicted to drugs, trying to deal with the trauma of war. People with illnesses, with surgeries, with disabilities get addicted to drugs. when they're in the hospital or because a doctor prescribes them. Poverty, hopelessness, as was described, can bring people into drug usage. And once you're heavily addicted, the slide into even occasional selling of drugs is often a result. What changes is then if you're caught and brought to trial, who can get a good lawyer? Who can get their charges reduced to the point that they might not show up on a registry? Who can keep themselves out of jail, and who can find support for their families? That is when you see the results, when we see who comes to trial and what the consequences of their trial is. And that's what we will see with a register like this. I don't believe in public stocks. I don't think it's time to go back to that era, and I don't believe in a public registry to punish people who've already served their time. And I do believe that when a community is going to be affected as widely as they are with an issue like this, that there should be great public notice and plenty of opportunity for input from those who will be impacted and from those who have the background to know the best approaches. So I urge you to consider and vote forward this repeal. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jessica Ashley. Good evening.
Pardon my slow gait. It matches my age. My name again is Jessica Ashley. I am a member of the Justice Center of Rensselaer County as well. I just want to say to you real quickly, the Justice Center was started by Bob Doherty. I hope that name is familiar with a number of you. I believe it is. I want you to know, for those of you who knew Bob, he would be dropping F-bombs all over this room right now if you really knew Bob. He would not let this go without you knowing. I mean, he would really let you have it. But I'm not here for that tonight. But I want you to know, I had an experience just this evening while sitting, waiting in line at the Popeyes, and a gentleman walked up to my car. He had walked up to others and walked up to my car and said, could you get me something to eat? He was not well kept. He shared his story. Certainly the drug world has taken probably everything but his life at this point. And all I could think of was how tragic it was that this man had to come up to a total stranger and ask for something to eat. I didn't have a problem with it. I said, sure, whatever you want. He actually just wanted the beans and rice. I said, well, is that all you want? Good, whatever you want, just beans and rice. I'll have you to know, he was a white man. For those of you who have this vision in your minds that these are minorities that are wreaking havoc on society, when I looked at those beautiful young people lined up here, I saw the potential victims of your bill. And you need to understand that the danger in what you're doing is that you just may be opening up a Pandora's box. Because our youth, regardless as to the mistakes and their failures, they are our greatest resource. And if we have a mindset of thinking that we can come up with something that for millennia the answer has not been found, and how to get young people to straighten their act up until that moment or that period of maturity kicks in, we as parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, community have to rally around that individual and patiently encourage that person to hang on, that this period is going to end and that they can do better, and encouraging and positive. Now, when we have a government system that the young people are learning about in their schools, that then they turn around and learn that that very system is targeting them, what do we say? You know, China right now has this group, has young people that are, I think they call it bowing out or sleeping out, or they don't want anything to do with their government. They're angry at their government. Their government has failed them. This is no different. We're failing our youth, of all people. Please stay away. Please repeal this. Please understand the consequences none of us can afford, because it does and it will not just stay with the targeted group that you have in your minds. That will, it won't happen. It will spread like a cancer. And we know what happens then. The greatest cure are the programs that are already existing. Not cure, but the greatest answer is to give monies towards those organizations that are working towards helping people to come out of the world of drug addiction, drug abuse. And alcohol is just as bad, please. You have more people being killed on the road by that drink that people are having after their 8 hours of work. So please reconsider this. Don't do it. And that is a plea coming from a grandmother and a mother. I was going to bring my 4-year-old, by the way. I know I'm going.
Jessica, yeah, you're over 5 minutes. Thank
I was going to
you.
bring my 4-year-old so that you could see that if he were, God forbid, to turn in that world in another 12 years, that he would be your target. So please reconsider. Thank you.
I think our next speaker is it Alfonso? Sorry, what's your last name? Rodriguez, thank you.
Okay. Everybody can hear me clearly?
Yes.
Perfect. All right. I want to say good evening to all, our esteemed legislative body, as well as all county residents. Just got a brief few notes to share with you all, because there's been a myriad of speakers to talk about the registry from all manner of angles in which it does not accomplish the goals it sets out to achieve. So before I even get into what I wanted to share, I want to say the fact that we've made it to the committee and ultimately to the legislative floor is a warm and welcomed development. However, I liken it to gymnastics. It's like we're in a somersault. We haven't quite stuck the landing just yet. The way to do that is to repeal the drug registry law in its totality. Following the example of our neighbors just south of us in passing resolutions that seek to inform and aid those who are grappling with the disease of addiction and making Narcan kits available like those in the City Council of Albany, as well as not making it easier to put dealers effectively on a criminalized menu, where those who may be seeking to enact vigilante justice, as well as making it easy for folks to get access to these drugs, which is effectively what this registry would do. Registries are not the answer and never have been the answer. The sex registry has proven that. The animal abuse registry is soon to follow, and the drug registry will follow in those ill-established examples. So before I conclude, I would like to say a word in the spirit of being first. So since the county was first in enacting a registry law of its kind, that also means you get to be the first to repeal such a registry. In addition, I would like to add that we could also take it a step further and set an example for the state in sending a resounding message against the upcoming legislation that's due in the state legislation under A 3388, which seeks to enact the drug registry for the entire state. So not only should we be repealing our own drug registry, we should be repealing all drug registries across the state. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Charlene Keels. You're passing. Of all people back there, you're passing. We're old co-workers. I can talk to her like that. Old friends. The next is Clara Hunt. You're not going to speak either? Okay. Our next speaker is Roxine.
I was expecting lights and like a stage show or something. I had less than 36 hours to get up here and address everyone, so good evening. I'm actually so glad to see all your faces here because I'm gonna remember them all. It's my first time here and it won't be my last time here if we continue to pass legislation like you guys did this year. My name is Roxine and I've been a resident of Rensselaer County for the last 10 years. I was supposed to be here for 4 months and 4 months turned into 6 months because 10 years ago, here I am, a little black girl, I won't disclose my age, from New York City. In my senior year of Farmingdale State College in Long Island, where my state senator, a Republican, invited me to come to the New York State Senate and advocate and help him pass laws. My state Republican senator from my district back home passed one of the most comprehensive opioid crisis laws to address the opioid crisis that was happening right here in the Capital District, known as one of the hot spots on this highway for opioid drugs that goes from Canada all the way to the end of Long Island, if you are aware of that. I grew up and have grown up as a Democrat all my life. When I first migrated to this country, where my parents worked hard in New York City and still own a home there, and now for the last 10 years, I've been working on both sides of the aisles to hear the concerns from people who served in the military, such as my family members, people who work for the state government, such as myself and my family members. And I hear the stories and I've seen what the opioid crisis has done in this hot spot of the Capital District. Now here it is. It's embarrassing that a law that doesn't help what was already done by members of the state government working on both aisles to ensure that we're addressing the real issues that's causing the crime rates that we do have. I wrote a statement that I would like to read. I am here to express my strong opposition to the recently adopted drug dealer registry law. As a concerned citizen and as a civil servant, I believe this legislation has significant flaws that need urgent reconsideration. The passage of this law without proper notice to constituents is deeply troubling. Transparency is essential in a democratic society, and a lack of public awareness undermines the trust between elected officials and the community that you serve. The drug dealer registry disproportionately impacts individuals who have already paid their debt to society. Once someone has served their sentence for a drug-related offense, they should have the opportunity to reintegrate into society without additional punitive measures. This registry perpetuates stigma and hinders rehabilitation. While the intention behind the registry is to combat drug-related crimes, there is no evidence that such public registries effectively reduce recidivism. In fact, they may exacerbate the problem by creating additional barriers for reformed individuals seeking employment, housing, and stability in their lives. Public registries often disproportionately affect communities of color. We must be cautious not to perpetuate racial biases through this legislation. Furthermore, errors in the registry can lead to lifelong stigmatization without due process. As someone who has worked across party lines to address the opioid crisis, I believe in evidence-based solutions. Instead of punitive measures, let us focus on comprehensive approaches that include prevention, treatment, and community support. I am looking at a community of individuals, am I not? In solidarity with those who have spoken before me, I urge you to reconsider this legislation. Let us work together to find effective solutions that prioritize rehabilitation, public safety, and fairness. I do thank you for all of your attention to this critical matter. Our voices must be heard. You must do the right thing and repeal this law. Thank you so much.
And our last speaker is Rylinda Hammett. You're not speaking? Okay. Okay, there are no other speakers, so we are all set on the public comment section of the meeting. Let me reset this. Okay, so we are going to call the regular meeting of the Rensselaer County Legislature to order at 6:41 PM. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Bailey? Here. Mr. Cassell? Here. Mr. Choquette? Here. Mr. Fiacco? Here. Mr. Fleming? Here. Mr. Genren? Here. Mr. Grant? Present. Mr. Grimm? Here. Mr. Harrington? Present. Ms. Kennedy? Here. Mr. Leveridge? Here. Mr. Maloney? Here. Ms. Nichols? Mr. Patiri? Here. Mr. Stoll? Here. Ms. Weaver? Here. Mr. Wysocki? Here. Mr. Zaluski? Here. Chairwoman Hoffman?
Here.
There are 19 present.
Invocation, Mr. Grant.
Dear Lord, we come to you and pray for all those who are struggling tonight. We ask that you be with each person who is struggling with addiction, and we ask that you remove all outside influences that perpetrate their addictions. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Grimm. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Harrington.
Madam Chair, I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 14, 2024, and approve the minutes as printed.
Do I have a second? Mr. Bailey? Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Presentation of petitions.
On file.
Presentation of communications.
On file.
Reports of commissions.
On file.
Departmental reports.
On file.
Reports of standing committees.
On file.
Local laws.
There are none tonight.
G, 25724.
G 25724, resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 passenger transit vans and amending the 2024 Rensselaer County adopted budget, Van Rensselaer Manor, introduced by legislators Grant, Leverage, and Weaver.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 25824.
G 25824, resolution authorizing the purchase of public transportation services from Capital District Transportation Authority, CDTA, Department of Employment and Training, introduced by legislators Wysocki, Patiri, and Zaluski.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 25924.
G 25924, resolution authorizing the purchase of license renewals for the 911 dispatch center system, Bureau of Public Safety, introduced by legislators Grant, Maloney, and Weaver.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 26024.
G 26024, resolution amending the 2024 Rensselaer County adopted budget, Van Rensselaer Manor, introduced by legislators Grant, Leverage, and Weaver.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 26124.
G 26124, resolution authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with Hoosick Falls Central School District for a deputy sheriff school resource officer position and amending the 2024 Rensselaer County adopted budget, Office of the Rensselaer County Sheriff, introduced by legislators Leverage, Grant, Weaver, and Maloney.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 26224.
G 26224, resolution authorizing an amended agreement with Hillary M. Massino, DBA Superior Care Optician Services, Van Rensselaer Manor, introduced by legislators Grant, Leverage, and Weaver.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 26324.
G 26324, resolution authorizing an agreement with Capital District Medical Transportation, Inc. for resident medical transportation services, Van Rensselaer Manor, introduced by legislators Grant, Leverage, and Weaver.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 26424.
G 26424, resolution authorizing an agreement with Albany, Schoharie, Schenectady, and Saratoga Capital District BOCES for the Summer Food Program, Unified Family Services Department for Youth, introduced by legislators Leverage, Grant, Weaver, Harrington, Casal, and Nichols.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 26524.
G 26524, resolution authorizing an agreement with VNS Health as provider of behavioral health services, Department of Mental Health, introduced by legislators Grant, Leverage, and Weaver.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 26624.
G 26624, resolution authorizing acceptance of a grant award from the New York State Department of Health for the 2024 through 2029 Tobacco Enforcement Program and amending the 2024 Rensselaer County adopted budget, Department of Health, introduced by legislators Leverage, Grant, Weaver, Stahl, Jenner, and Nichols.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 26724.
G 26724, resolution authorizing an agreement with the Rensselaer County Sheriff's Office, Department of Health, introduced by legislators Leverage, Grant, Weaver, Stahl, Jenner, and Nichols.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 26824.
G 26824, resolution authorizing acceptance of additional funding from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and Environmental Facilities Corporation for the State Septic System Replacement Fund Program and amending the 2024 Rensselaer County adopted budget, Department of Health, introduced by legislators Leverage, Grant, Weaver, Stahl, Jenner, and Nichols.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 26924.
G 26924, resolution authorizing an agreement with Vanderheiden Hall, Inc. for Children and Youth Respite Services, Department of Mental Health, introduced by legislators Grant, Leverage, and Weaver.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G, 27024.
G 27024, resolution authorizing an agreement with Samaritan Hospital for and the Eddy Foundation St. Peter's Health Partners for the co-occurring training project, Department of Mental Health, introduced by legislators Grant, Leverage, and Weaver.
All those in favor? Opposed?
18 ayes, 1 abstention. Mrs. Hoffman.
So moved. G, 27124.
G 27124, resolution amending the 2024 Rensselaer County adopted budget, Department of Health, introduced by legislators Stahl, Jenner, and Nichols.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G 27224.
G 27224, resolution authorizing acceptance of state aid from the New York State Consolidated Local Street and Highway Improvement Program CHIPS, funding and amending the 2024 Rensselaer County Adopted Budget Highway Department, introduced by legislators Leverage, Grant, Weaver, Harrington, Bailey, and Fleming.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G 27324.
G 27324, resolution authorizing a software support and maintenance agreement with Catalyst Courts and Land Records LLC for the Caseload Explorer Case Management System, Department of Probation, introduced by legislators Leverage, Grant, Weaver, and Maloney.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G 27424.
G 27424, resolution authorizing the Rensselaer County Executive to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Steventown for the construction of a bridge superstructure along Madden Road over East Brook Highway Department, introduced by legislators Leverage, Grant, Weaver, Harrington, Bailey, and Fleming.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G 27524.
G 27524, resolution authorizing the purchase of a vehicle, Department of Probation, introduced by legislators Leverage, Grant, Weaver, and Maloney.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G 27624.
G 27624, resolution authorizing acceptance of a grant award from the New York State Office of Indigent Legal Services and amending the 2024 Rensselaer County Adopted Budget, Public Defender, Conflict Defender, and Public Administrator, introduced by legislators Leverage, Grant, Weaver, and Maloney.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G 27724.
G 27724, resolution amending the 2024 Rensselaer County Adopted Budget, County Executive, introduced by Chairwoman Hoffman.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G 27824.
G 27824, resolution awarding contract construction administration services Applied Technology Education Center, ATEC, Phase 2, Hudson Valley Community College, introduced by Chairwoman Hoffman.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G 27924.
G 27924, resolution authorizing the purchase of primary tank chain parts, Sewer District Number 1, introduced by Chairwoman Hoffman.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. G 28024.
G 28024, resolution authorizing the sole source purchase of primary tank parts, Sewer District Number 1, introduced by Chairwoman Hoffman.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. P 28124.
P 28124, resolution commending the Pleasantdale Volunteer Fire Department upon the occasion of their 100th anniversary, introduced by legislators Harrington, Casal, Maloney, and the entire legislative body.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. P 28224.
P 28224, resolution commending State Vice President Ron Barner upon the occasion of his homecoming, introduced by legislators Grant, Hoffman, Bailey, Fiacco, and the entire legislative body.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. P 28324.
P 28324, resolution commending School 18 Odyssey of the Mines team upon the occasion of an outstanding performance in the 2024 competition, introduced by legislators Kennedy and Casal and the entire legislative body.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. P 28424.
P 28424, resolution establishing a public hearing date on Hudson Valley Community College budget for fiscal year 2024 to 2025, introduced by legislators Casal, Jenner, and Nichols.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. P 28524.
P 28524, resolution of the Rensselaer County Legislature urging the state of New York to adopt Chelsea's Law, introduced by legislators Casal, Hoffman, Leverage, Bailey, Harrington, Choquette, Fiacco, Genren, Grant, Kennedy, Maloney, Patiri, Stahl, Wysocki, Fleming, and Weaver.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
17 ayes, 2 noes, Mr. Grimm and Ms. Nichols.
So moved. P 28624.
P 28624, resolution congratulating Russell's Age College President Christopher Ames upon the occasion of his retirement, introduced by legislators Grimm, Nichols, Fleming, Weaver, Zalinski, and the entire legislative body.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
19 ayes.
So moved. P 28724.
P 28724, resolution for the Rensselaer County Legislature to repeal local law T3, introduced by legislators Nichols, Grimm, Fleming, Weaver, and Zalinski.
Mr. Pateri?
Numbers that were there that brought this forward, this law. In 2019, Samaritan Hospital had 328 ER visits for overdose. In 2023, it went up to 534. In 5 years, 328, 534, and that's just the ER visits and Samaritan. Last year, we had 81 deaths. The key things about the deaths and ER visits, the deaths, we have more overdoses that aren't showing because in my district, they go to Vermont, or they go to Massachusetts, closest hospital. Okay, there's parts of this area where they can go to Saratoga. Those numbers are not shared with Rensselaer County. So it's quite evident that we're losing the battle on drugs because it is increasing. Okay? I can imagine if this was crime in itself. If you had over 600 muggings a year to a day, people would be screaming bloody murder. So anyway, that's why the drug registry idea came about. Now, the drug registry was created in large part with advice, consent, and support from the DA's office and her staff. Very thankful for
Excuse me, hold on 1 second, please. Please, hold on, Bruce. Oh, we were able to listen to you, folks, and we appreciate, no, I'm sorry. That's okay. I'm just asking for decorum so the legislators have an opportunity to speak like you guys did. That's all. Thank you.
So, once again, I want to thank the DA's office for meeting with me, my colleagues, for the registry. Our joint efforts in this law to help some strong men that drug dealers are not welcome to Rensselaer. Now, we are not attacking people that are addicted to drugs. We're attacking people that are on the street corner selling drugs. And I don't care what neighborhood you live in, reside in, I would think you'd want to protect your children from having drug dealers on the corner trying to entice them to make a mistake. Okay? So, what I'm saying here is we are not attacking people with drugs problem. We understand that, we sympathize, we're trying to work with that. What we're saying is we're trying to stop new people being addicted by drugs. Take them off the street then. Okay? So the old saying is you encourage the behavior that you're tolerating. We cannot tolerate drug dealers and make excuses for drug dealers that they need that money to buy more drugs for themselves. Okay, because all that's doing is throwing people into the river, and we're downstream trying to pull them out to save them. The idea is that the upriver stop from going in. If we could make drugs less readily available, perhaps we could save a life. And if we could save one child's life from drug addiction by stopping the dealers from being in the street, I'm all for it. Okay? Now, I understand everybody says, what I'm saying is the law is there. The law is there. If you're still selling, it's because you're ignoring the law. If you ignore the law, you pay the price. I'm sorry.
Mr. Grimm, I think you had your hand up. Next.
Thank you. Madam Chair, in regards to this repeal of the local law, I think the universe works in strange ways, and it has brought us all here tonight or in a past month.
I'm sorry, he's yelling behind you that he can't hear you, which is interrupting your presentation.
Can you hear me now? Okay, great. In regards to this legislation that's on the table, I was saying that the universe works in strange ways. We had passed this local law last month, and we had heard some support of this law, before. We didn't hear anything against the law. But how wonderful it is to live in a democracy where the public then came and responded, and they spoke to us on this. And this is where we change our minds on things, and this is what the process is all about. And that puts us here today to have even more conversation and more discussion on this. I think it's also very important that we recognize that all the conversation that we've been having on this is opposition to this local law from our constituents. And we represent these people. That's what we're here for. I think the conversation is also an enlightenment to all of us. There are always two sides to every story, and we are able to hear what seems to be the most prolific story from our constituency. I think it gives us all, it humbles us all to know that we work for the community and that we need to answer what their desires are. And for that reason, I'm going to be voting to repeal the local law tonight. And I encourage all of my colleagues to join me in listening to the public. Thank you.
Ms. Nichols? Yeah, unless, we can take the microphone down if you guys feel more comfortable at your desk. I can do that if you're interested. You want
Come
that?
on up, come on up. You can do a
Somebody's-
poll vote if you guys want. Then each of you gets to talk.
We can do that. Yes, if somebody calls for a roll call vote, yes, we can do that. Okay, you can finish, Ms. Nichols, and then we'll do that. Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
All right, I wanted to start out by saying that I really appreciate the intent of the sponsor of this bill and all of my colleagues on the legislature who I believe, working with other partners to develop what we passed back in December, did it with a true compassionate concern about the community that we live in, the communities that we live in, and what's been happening in terms of fentanyl overdoses. And that's where we all were when we were having this conversation, with great concern about people in our community that we love. In doing that, we acted really quickly. And I think that's the actual repeal legislation that we're looking at. We didn't follow our process. We didn't look at how it conflicted with other things that New York State has passed and have enacted. We didn't look to see if the supporting legislation was there. And so that's the actual repeal legislation that we're voting on. I also think that when we acted that fast, when we acted that quickly, we weren't able to get some other input that might have helped us think some more about this. And one of the top things that I think really across our aisle we should weigh carefully is the idea that people with substance abuse disorders and people who are selling drugs are often the same people. And so it's not so easy to try and protect one group from another group because sometimes those are all the same folks. The other thing that I feel like we're hearing that we really should weigh when we're trying to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, I was mindful of the prayer that we opened with in the invocation and a concern for all people with substance abuse disorders and doing something about the obstacles to recovery. And it's really been pointed out by some of our experts how destabilizing this can be for folks who would be in recovery if we left this law in place. Not allowing people to get jobs, find good housing, continue education, and in fact, instead of doing what we want it to do, which is limit the drug use in our communities and the deaths that occur because of it, we may in fact exacerbate the problem and increase it throughout our communities. So I'm going to vote no, and I encourage my colleagues to do the same. I'm voting yes for the repeal, no to the drug dealer registry. Thank you so much, and I encourage you all to do the same.
Can you just take the mic down in case somebody else might want to use it? Thank you. Yeah, we're going to go for the vote. If somebody wants to use the mic, well, because for some reason, I think the ceiling microphones are not working. It's up front. Bob Loveridge is in charge of the microphone.
On the roll call vote, Mr. Bailey.
I'd like to explain my vote. First off, the law that we did pass was unanimous, both sides of the aisle. It was discussed with the DA and other people. Over the past 2 months, we've heard a lot of people come in and tell us the fact that these convicted drug dealers will have a hard time getting a job when they're done, and if they put them back into drugs or whatever. Last weekend, 2 people in North Greenbush, 2 young people, died of drug overdose. I wonder how their parents feel about the drug dealer that sold their kids that drug. And if he gets out of jail, if he's gonna have to be on a registry, how is he gonna feel? How are they gonna feel about that? We should worry about them, not about the drug dealer.
Excuse me, again, I'm going to ask you to please keep decorum. Please, I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
Mr. Bailey, too, don't encourage yelling and screaming.
But we've listened to this for 2 months, and we've sat here and listened to it and never said anything. If these people want to talk, they should have done it when their
Okay.
microphone was open.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey.
And,
Oh,
and on that, I am voting no to repeal this law.
okay.
Mr. Cassell.
Chairman?
Mr. Cassell.
I don't see much difference on this bill. Don't see much into it. That would change my vote. I wish there was more into it on this different resolution than the one that we're looking at now, so I'll vote no.
Mr. Choquette.
Yes, I'm gonna vote no on this because I've talked to hundreds of people in my area and, I know a lot of parents that have lost children and, they're all for it.
Mr. Fiacco.
Nay.
Mr. Fleming.
Yes, if I may,
Mr. Fleming.
yeah, I'm 70 years old, almost, and made a lot of mistakes in my life. I voted for this thing, and that was one of the mistakes. We're going to get a demographic here of my colleagues. Sure, I'm guessing that we will all make plenty of mistakes. I hope that I can rectify my mistake by voting in favor of this resolution to repeal this. I really don't believe legally we as a county have the right to impose an extended sentence on the state of New York penal law. I just don't believe it's even legal. But I hope that my colleagues join me in repealing this, and let's try to, in the future, pass laws that are enforceable and are sound legal stature foundation. I'm voting no. Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Mr. Genrin.
I would just like to share a quick story. If you look at my wedding photo, there's a black man standing next to me. If you look at my family photo, I have an adopted mulatto girl that was my wife's niece. And her mother has been through recovery 2 different occasions through drug court. And she just gave birth in the last 9 months to another drug-addicted baby. If you want to do better, you have to make that choice for yourself. You can't blame it on the system. You can't blame it on everybody that makes the laws. So now she's back in drug court for a second time. Well, let's see if that helps her. But she's recovered herself and she's decided to go back and use drugs. So it's a choice that people are making. So I understand where everybody's coming from. You have to want to help yourself and do better. To do better, you can't blame it on the system. I'm voting no.
Mr. Grant.
Explain my vote. Great discussion here tonight, both by members of the legislature and the public who took the time out of their busy schedules to come here before us tonight. However, passage of this resolution tonight will not result in a repeal of the registry local law. Say that again. passage of the resolution tonight will not result in the repeal of the registry of local law. Under the Rensselaer County Charter, a local law cannot be repealed by a simple resolution. Again, a local law can only be repealed by another superseding local law. The local law passed the legislature unanimously on December the 12th, 2023. The public hearing on the local law, which was conducted by the county executive, occurred on January the 18th of 2024. The county executive then signed the local law on January 22nd of 2024. Legally, if we're going to follow the charter of Rensselaer County, we're all sworn to do when we take office here. The resolution, just a simple resolution, will not repeal the local law. It has to be done through the local law process. I appreciate the discussion tonight. It's a good discussion. It's good everybody came together, but this is not the mechanism to repeal the local law. Thank you.
How do you vote?
And your vote, Mr. Grant?
Consequently, I vote no on the resolution. Thank you.
Mr. Grimm?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Grimm?
I would like to see if the council could address this for us. This resolution can pass.
This resolution absolutely can pass, but it
Yes, it
doesn't
can.
repeal the law.
And it can pass in good faith that we are of the mind as a body to repeal the local law. So, Mr. Graham makes a good point, and I appreciate him giving us that insight. I wish we had had more of that from legal counsel in the whole process here, but that does not mean we cannot pass this resolution tonight as a body to change the local law. And I'm voting in favor of it. Thank you.
Mr. Harrington?
I'm a no.
Ms. Kennedy?
No.
Mr. Leverage?
If I could just say a couple words. I've worked for 37 and a half years in the criminal justice system. I was a warden of a jail. I was proud of what we did at the jail. It's a very unfortunate situation that people find themselves becoming incarcerated. I'm a humanitarian. I did everything I could do as the warden of the jail to try to provide education, treatment, counseling, and assist people when they left that jail to have support in the community when they left, if they were addicted or had a drug problem. I also helped a lot of people, I believe, get mental health treatment that were not receiving mental health treatment. I'm a little perplexed right now about our criminal justice system because I see people that I knew from before that go back into the courthouse and within minutes they are put back on the street. Those people that need mental health assistance are not getting it. The people that need drug counseling, drug treatment, medical treatment, they're not getting it. I can't control every single thing that happens in the world and who finds themselves in whatever situation they do. But I do believe that if our justice system is going to work, it has to be the scale of justice. There has to be some type of punishment and reward for what happens. What I'm telling you is that some of my best days when I worked in the punishment side, going to jail, was when I felt good that our society was providing services to people who might need it. They would not have gotten it had they not been being punished. Now, I've heard comments from the public, and I've heard comments from my colleagues here, and I've been informed that this process that we're doing tonight will not change this particular law that exists. Perhaps what we need to do is put our heads back together again. Maybe there's a way to amend a law that might try to do some things a little bit different. But right now, this law exists, and it's as a deterrent. The intent of it is not to eventually cause all the things that you have said coming here, because I wouldn't want to see people have to deal with that either. But as someone else mentioned, and I know 3 family members who have lost their children to a dealer selling them a drug for the first time, and they OD'd and died. Something has to be done to tell the drug dealers, not here, don't come here. And they need to be understanding that there will be a consequence if they do come here. And for that reason, I'm voting no.
Mr. Maloney.
Mr. Maloney?
My family has been struck with this. We lost my wife's cousin 5 years ago to an overdose. I've been a member for 37 years of the fire service, which we've been on multiple, many, over 25 cases of where we've administered narcotics to try and save someone's life, and have reversed that 25 times. I cannot sit here and give credit to a dealer or even care about a dealer as much as I care about the people I try to save. I have to protect those people in some way, and therefore, I'm a no.
Ms. Nichols.
I think we still have a lot of conversation to have about how we might best protect our communities and the people that we love from being exposed to substance abuse, and it's a terrible plague, and the deaths that have come and been close to us in our community have been awful. And we should not turn our back to that. We absolutely should be doing something to try and address it. And I'm very encouraged to hear a concern that we don't do nearly enough to fund mental health services. Certainly that's true at New York State level, and it is probably true at the county level as well. I think if we look closely at the budget, we might want to put a lot more there, so that when people call for mental health services, they'll be able to access them. But on this, I appreciate the process question that has been lifted up, because now we know the mechanism that we can move forward with to continue this conversation to repeal this law. And in the meantime, I would ask for all legislators to be given a notice that was given for the public hearing that happened on January 18th that we've been unable to locate.
I've requested that from the county attorney's office. Steve's office does the public hearing, so
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I look forward to having it, and I still vote yes on repeal.
Mr. Patiri?
No.
Mr. Stahl?
Mr. Stahl?
I want to first thank everybody for coming and speaking at a open forum like this. This really helps immensely. I do want to also say, I think it needs to be a multi-forum approach to resolve this, that a single approach is not going to affect us at all. But what I do want to say is I've seen overdoses, like some of my colleagues have said firsthand. The house behind me
Ms. Weaver?
Thank you all, I appreciate all the input. My concern, I am voting yes, by the way, but my concern is the way this registry is written, I don't even know how we enforce it. I don't even know who's supposed to enforce it. Is the DA supposed to enforce it? So if you have a drug dealer living at 2 Main Street, and they're there for 3 months, they're on the registry, now they move to Florida. Now some other poor soul moves in and now he's the drug dealer? How do you enforce this? It's almost impossible to do, if that's just me, that's just my opinion. And the other thing is I'm a little upset over the public hearing, which I just found out was on January 18th, and we were not notified. Because we would have notified people to come if they wanted, instead of doing 3 weeks of public hearings here, we could have just done one and heard it then.
Mr. Wysocki?
No.
Mr. Zaluski?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Zaluski?
so I've certainly been listening to all sides of this discussion, and Legislator Pateri, I understand, I know your motivation for why you put this forward. And we know, we support this unanimously. It sounded like a good idea at the outset. We have a serious, serious problem here. People are dying. Everyone's relating stories about people that we know, friends that are dying from this epidemic. It's a horrible epidemic. The question is, what's the solution to it? The question is, what's the correct solution to it? And this sounds good, if you just look at it at the outset, but it's what I would call, if I can term this, lazy legislation. It's just, oh, we'll just put a registry up there and that'll solve the problem. And that, we have.
Please allow the legislator to speak, please.
There's no evidence that it will solve any problems. Because if you actually Google for drug dealer registries, there's almost none that have been implemented across the United States. We have no evidence of what such a thing would do, but we do have dozens of people that are telling us that it would be negative to people recovering from serving their time. And we all agree, I think we all agree as elected officials, that when someone does their time, they pay their debt to society, and we give them the chance to reintegrate back into society, right? We don't want people to have to continue to have that stigma, because as people have related to us, it makes it more difficult. If they're on a registry, now it's more difficult to get housing, it's more difficult to get a job. What happens? You're back in that cycle, right? So I don't feel like this particular law is going to achieve the effect that you were hoping for it to achieve. And Legislator Stahl, I remember when you related that story last time about people that you know that died from drug overdoses. And then you did say, as you said today, that you don't know what the right answer is, but you felt that this was a good first step. But I think we're hearing that it's probably not a good first step, and there's more that we can do. We can do better. All of us together could probably, discuss it and come up with some better legislation. In fact, we're talking about the deaths from these overdoses. We just passed a resolution, I think it was 285, to support Chelsea's law, which does hold drug dealers that lace the drugs with this poison, with this fentanyl, more accountable than ever. So that is something that, and the legislature supports that, our own assembly person, John McDonald, supports it. So that could be a reasonable step. And by the way, I want to mention something about the 285. I was actually going to vote no for that originally because I was a little bit naive. I thought it was just trying to call this manslaughter just for drug dealing. I didn't realize, stupidly, that there's this issue where fentanyl is being, apparently they cut it. They cut the drug down to make it cheaper and put this effectively poison. You're effectively killing people. So if you're knowingly killing someone with a drug, let's call it manslaughter. And that might be a step in the right direction. But putting people that have already paid their debt by serving time onto a registry when they get out, I'm not sure that that's going to be the right answer. And I want to address just one other thing, if I may. Last time we had legislative privilege, I know Legislator Gendron was talking about leftists being involved on crime. And I just wanted to say this. I think we're all talking about the bail reform. And I just want to be very clear on, this is all related.
everything we're discussing here is related. Intent of bail reform was to not penalize folks that don't have the money, making them sit in jail when someone with the means, probably all of us here, right? We wouldn't spend the night in jail, but someone that's poor, that can't put up bail, would be spending time in jail. And of course, we all agree in the principle that you should not be held in jail without a fair trial, without a trial, right? So the longer, if you can't pay, you're sitting in jail, and it's that we consider that to be inherently unfair. Now, there are issues, there's no question about it, that there have been issues with bail reform, and I don't understand judges want more decision-making powers themselves to have, and we can fix that. But that doesn't make this group of legislators soft on crime, or we just love the criminals. No one wants crime in their community. The five of us, and Lori, Legislator Kennedy, are representing a city that does have poorer neighborhoods. We do have high crime. We get it. We understand that. But so we're not, we trust our police to do the right thing in Troy. They're receiving more training than probably any police force around the state, if not the country. I mean, we've been trying to reform how we police the city. We take it seriously, but that doesn't mean that that we don't care about crime. We just want that criminals want training. None of us believe that. I don't like being cast that way. We should work collectively to just find answers to the problems, and the drug problem is a huge problem in our community. It affects all the towns in Rensselaer County. It affects the entire county. Drug dealer registry is not going to be the answer to that. Thank you. Oh, and I vote aye for repeal, even if it's technically urging. It's an urging. I still vote aye.
Chairwoman Hoffman?
I'd like to thank all of my colleagues, both in majority and minority, for some spirited conversations about this. And certainly want to thank the members of the community who've come the past couple of weeks to talk about this. As Legislator Pateri had mentioned, the intent of the law was never to hurt a certain group of people. It's really to try to deter our kids, our adults, our veterans, whoever it is, from being sold drugs that could potentially get them addicted or kill them. That's what this is about. I appreciate a lot of the personal stories on both sides, from the audience and from our legislators, because I know it's not easy to share that. And Legislator Stahl, I appreciate your honesty and your candidness when it comes to this, because I know it's not easy to talk about. I would not consider this lazy legislation. This is not something that was just done overnight. We had several meetings with the district attorney and her staff to help draft this legislation. This was something that our legislators had talked about before. This was not something that was done in the middle of the night. Both sides of the aisle had opportunity to talk about this, to review the law, and to vote on it. Since then, and those things are all public knowledge. They're posted on our website whenever we have any of these things that we talk about every month. Those are posted on our website. And so you say, okay, I don't go on your website every night, every week, or every month, right? I don't know what you're doing. Because of that, we also make sure procedurally that these things are communicated to the public. And from what I understand, this notice was published in the Troy Record, which is obviously, has wide circulation. Excuse me, I'm talking. So I just want you to know this was not something that was done in a day's time. This had been months of work that any legislator here, any of the legislators here on either side of the aisle had opportunity to comment on. And again, the intent is not to hurt people who are trying to recover or manage their addiction. This is specifically targeted to people who are selling drugs to those people so that we can try to do something to stop this. And for those reasons, and all those that my colleagues had mentioned, I'm voting no.
5 in favor, 14 opposed.
So moved. Legislative privilege? Mr. Fiacco?
I'm listening to the other side saying that this was a lazy legislation. Okay, it was an 18-0 vote, or was it 19-0, but it was unanimous.
It was unanimous.
At the end of the day, if you want to talk about lazy, now these guys heard, from some squawking. All I know is our side stubs at our guns of what we voted for. The other side, who probably didn't even read the law, voted yes anyways. You want to talk about lazy? We know where it is.
Mr. Maloney? I have a motion. Do I have a second? Mr. Loveridge? All those in favor? Aye. Have a good night and be safe.